Hi students, welcome to the today's module. We are going to discuss about the protein evaluation methods as a part 1. Proteins are important in human life. Protein requirements are different for different ages. Protein sources are from the animal sources as well as from the plant sources. Protein sources are different. For example, plant proteins like soybean is a high quality protein as well as high quantity. Approximately 100 grams of soybean, if you take 38 to 40% of the protein it has, whereas if you take the other legumes, they are around 20 to 25% of the protein. Whereas if you take the milk protein or the egg protein, though the content wise if you consider the less, but the quality wise it has a higher quality aspects, particularly from the animal protein. Because plant protein have some anti-nutritional factors, even in animal proteins also for that matter, but by cooking methods or by processing methods we can minimize these anti-nutritional factors and we can improve the protein quality. But how to assess the protein quality, which we are going to discuss, like about the biological value or net protein utilization or by the balance studies or the protein efficiency ratios. These are the various methods worldwide people are utilizing it, and we should also discuss about these, how to assess the protein quality by utilizing these various methods for the various foods which we can determine the protein quality. If we look at the average household consumption of foodstuffs as per the recommended dietary intakes of Indians, which has been stipulated and described by the Indian Council of Medical Research, National Institute of Nutrition in year 2010. If you look at this slide, where the average Indian, and particularly if you look at the urban India, which is consuming cereals and millets around 70%, whereas pulses and legumes the RDI has reached above 100%. But if you look at the other parts like green leafy vegetables, milk and milk products, they have not come up to the mark of RDI. And the interesting part of today's talk is with respect to protein. Proteins are very important part of human health, and if you look at average urban Indian is eating around 89.8% of the protein when they required 1 gram per kilogram body weight, that is approximately 60 grams, an average weight of 60 kilograms person. So, therefore, the quantity of the protein is also less in Indian context, and also very importantly the quality of the protein is also very important. When quantity is less, in addition to that quality also really compromises and which foods we are choosing. For example, if we look at the other cereals and the millets which we consume in our daily diet, like rice, which is a predominantly staple cereal in South India, and wheat is a staple cereal in North India, like maize, sorghum, pearl millet, finger millet, kodo millet, Madian millet, such millets are also part of our diet, but we are consuming very less. But if you look at the protein part, rice is around 7.9, wheat around 11.6, even other millets are also of good sources of protein. So, therefore, choosing a right quantity and the quality of the protein for the quality of human health is very important and vital. So, therefore, to look at this data for other foods where we have to get the data for choosing the protein foods, one has to look for the Indian food composition tables, which has been released in 2017 by National Institute of Nutrition, is a database for all Indian foods for proteins and other nutrients also. So, then what about the proteins or large biomolecules or macromolecules consisting of one or more long chain of amino acid residues? Proteins perform a vast array of functions with organisms including catalyzing metabolic reactions, DNA replication, responding to stimuli, and transporting molecules from one location to another. Proteins are made up of hundreds or thousands of smaller units called amino acids, which are attached to one another in long chains. There are approximately 20 different types of amino acids that can be combined to make a protein. The sequence of amino acids determines each protein's unique three-dimensional structure and its specific function. If you look at this picture, there is a picture in this about the protein, which is an amino acid composition, a representation. The primary structure of a protein refers to the linear sequence of amino acids in the polypeptide chain. The primary structure is held together by covalent bonds such as peptide bonds, which are made during the process of protein biosynthesis. The two ends of the polypeptide chain are referred to as the carboxyl terminus, that is called C terminus, and the amino terminus, that is N terminus, based on the nature of the free group on each extremity. Counting of residues always starts at the N terminal end, that is NH2 group, which is the end where the amino group is not involved in a peptide bond. Here is an albino laboratory rat with its red eyes and white fur is an iconic model organism for scientific research in variety of fields, and particularly when you are looking for protein quality, the quality evaluations can be done in the albino laboratory rats for checking the various foods its protein quality. Thus, protein quality can be thought of in several aspects. It can measure the rate at which the protein is absorbed into the body or the ratio of the amounts of nitrogen utilized by the body to the amounts excreted. It could determine the amount of essential amino acids, those amino acids that the body cannot synthesize in the food, or how easily the protein is digested. There are multiple methods of determining the protein quality. So, the protein quality can be assessed by different means. For example, one of the aspects is the biological value. The biological value, or the BV test, examines the nitrogen balance. This relates to the body's ability to digest, absorb and excrete given proteins, which are the body's source of nitrogen. Biological value testing is a lengthy and somewhat expensive process that requires test subjects to fast for several days and then adhere to a strict diet containing protein only in the form of being tested. Their urine and feces are tested for nitrogen levels after fasting and while on the diet. To determine the biological value, the nitrogen levels are compared to that of the whole food. However, both exercise and protein deficient diet or fasting will promote nitrogen retention, which could compromise the results. Therefore, testing the biological value is crucial in such situations. So, biological value, that is BV, measures how much nitrogen is retained in the body. Similar to nitrogen balance concept, two diets, one with protein, the other with protein free, that are fed to either humans or animals for 7 to 10 days. Here we should also understand what is protein free. See that the two types of diets will be prepared. One is the test diet, another which it contains the diet which has no protein at all. So, people in the laboratory, we prepare the diet using starch, all other minerals, fat and other things except the protein, so that when the protein free diet should also be given to one group of animals for 7 to 10 days. Then we should collect the urinary and fecal collections. They are assessed for various parameters. The calculations, like for conducting the biological value, is Ni minus U minus UE minus F minus Fe divided by Ni minus F minus Fe multiplied with 100. That is, in a reasonable way, we should tell nitrogen retained divided by nitrogen absorbed multiplied with 100, you get the biological value. In this calculation equation above, Ni is nitrogen intake, U and F are urinary and fecal nitrogen losses respectively. UE and Fe are endogenous urinary and fecal nitrogen losses during nitrogen free diet. Because as I have mentioned you that we are also giving to one group of animals the protein free, so that you will have different spectrum of the nitrogen retention or from the endogenous nitrogen quantity. Maximum biological value is equal to 100 indicates all nitrogen is absorbed and retained. For example, if you take as a standard BV is equal to 100 means a particular protein which is absorbed 100% and retained 100% of its protein. So, similar limitations for nitrogen balance apply to biological value. Meaningful for whole diets, but not individual component of mixed diets, since limiting amino acids can differ between sources. When you take protein is not just same for all the foods. For example, if you take a particular protein, if you take an example of egg, it has a albumin, whereas if the milk protein if you take, it is a casein. So, likewise protein by name, but they are of different nature and their chemistries are also different based upon their content and the quality. So, the biological value of selected foods, if we learn, particularly egg whole which has the highest biological value, that is almost 100, that is 93.7, whereas milk protein, that is casein which I have just mentioned, even the whey protein is also present in the milk which has the biological value 84.5. Fish protein, fish is also very good source of protein which has the biological value of 76. Beef, where some of the section of the people also consumes for nutritional value, which has also have a good biological value of 74.3. Soybeans, which is a plant source, is also having 72.8% biological value, more or less on par with the animal protein like beef or with fish. Rice, which we consume as a staple food, and the wheat also which people consumes a lot in northern India, having similar biological value like it has 64. Corn and beans, if you take, they are around 60 and beans dry, that is 58. So, the biological value also differs from animal protein to the plant protein, but some of the plant proteins like soybeans are also on par with some of the animal proteins. Therefore, quality of the protein is very important when we consider the protein source. See, the other aspect of the protein quality evaluation is the protein efficiency ratio. We can also assess the protein quality by looking at its protein efficiency ratio, like what we have discussed about the biological value earlier. Now, we should know little about the protein efficiency ratio. Protein efficiency ratio, or it is abbreviated as PER, is a somewhat outdated method, because people are not really using nowadays, though it is used by governments around the world. Lab rats are fed set of amounts of protein and then measured as they grow. It is like a growth assay. The amount of the weight they gain in grams is divided by the amount of the protein eaten in grams, giving a protein efficiency ratio score. This method is beginning to come under criticism, as it does not take into account that humans need a different amino acid profile than rats, and there are several unmeasured variables also. So, therefore, though it has been shown initially an excellent tool for conducting the protein quality evaluation in the various foods, the protein efficiency ratios have been utilized. Protein efficiency ratio assess weight gain of the growing animals on a particular protein source. Example, we can use rats or chicks for a growth assays. Diet containing about 10% of the protein is fed for 10 days normally, and a protein efficiency ratio, that is weight gain in grams divided by the protein consumed in grams, gives you the ratio of protein efficiency. But it is not suitable as an index for human consumption, because human metabolism often varies substantially from animals, because of the requirements are different and the metabolisms are also little bit different from the animal models. So, the other way of looking at the protein quality is the nitrogen balance. Nitrogen intake from the protein minus nitrogen excretion equals the nitrogen balance. Nitrogen balance, usually what is intake, what is loss, it should be same. If not, there will be a negative nitrogen status, nitrogen intake and nitrogen losses, and positive nitrogen status is nitrogen intake and nitrogen losses, whether it is more it is retained or more it is lost, is only matters for the negative and the positive nitrogen status of the nitrogen balance studies. Nitrogen balance is a whole body concept, does not give specific information on flux of a protein or amino acid pool within the individual tissues or organs also. So, FAO WHO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization, World Health Organization, has set protein requirements based on nitrogen balance experiments. If you look at the calculations of nitrogen balance, general nitrogen status formula, nitrogen status is equal to nitrogen intake, that is Ni, minus U and F or urinary and fecal nitrogen losses. UE and Fe are endogenous urinary and fecal nitrogen losses during nitrogen free diet. S is a nitrogen loss from sloughed skin cells, sweat, bodily secretions, because we will also lose some of the nitrogen from various parts of the body like sweat particularly and bodily secretions also, which we will lose. Therefore, accounting for all these things so that we can calculate the nitrogen balance. So, the clinical nitrogen status formula, nitrogen status is equal to gram protein intake divided by 6.25 minus UUN is a urinary urea nitrogen, and this will be added to 4, which estimates other nitrogenous urea compounds and non-urea nitrogen losses also considering, so that you will have a nitrogen status. If we consider one example to understand, individual with protein intake of 85 grams, for example, if somebody is taking 85 grams, and if we take that, we estimates the urinary urea nitrogen of 9.9 milligrams per ml, and 24-hour urine volume is 1000 ml. For example, see, usually we collect the, when we are doing an experiments with human beings, we collect the 24-hour urine. So, otherwise you are not calculating or estimating or determining the nitrogen loss accurately. So, therefore, 24-hour urine sample collection is very, very important, and collecting the 24-hour urine sample and analyzing for the urinary urea nitrogen in that, and when you if you replace that in the formula, nitrogen intake 85 grams as I have mentioned, and 6.25 divided by 6.25, because in 100 grams of protein there will be 16 grams of nitrogen is present in general. So, therefore, 100 by 16 is equal to, you get the 6.25, that is the value which we are replacing it with that, so that you are getting 13.6. So, urinary urea nitrogen which we have determined in the 24-hour urine volume 9.9 milligram per ml multiplied with 1000 ml, that is the volume which has been collected, which has come to 9900 milligrams or 9.9 grams. So, nitrogen balance is 13.6 minus 9.9 plus 4 I have as already mentioned, which estimates the other nitrogenous urea compounds and non-urea nitrogen losses which we have to consider. So, therefore, there will be a negative nitrogen balance indicates state of protein loss in this example which we have tested. So, what are the considerations for nitrogen balance? Measurements are difficult and often imprecise. Urine and fecal collections must fully account for 24-hour period and difficult in practice. So, poor estimates of true nitrogen loss often result in an overestimation of nitrogen retention. Non-protein energy intake can influence results like carbohydrate and fat or protein sparing. If energy is inadequate, amino acids will be used for oxidation, fuel, instead of for synthesis of new proteins, thus nitrogen retention is reduced. So, therefore, we are not really estimating the nitrogen balance properly in such a situation when there is a sort of more oxidation, particularly with amino acids are taking place. So, net protein utilization for protein quality is another way where we can also assess the protein quality. Net protein utilization is similar to nitrogen balance and the biological value concepts. See, these are all the various ways and means how to assess the protein quality, like biological value which we have discussed, nitrogen balance which we have discussed. Now, we are discussing about the net protein utilization. For example, you are comparing the two diets, one with protein, the other protein free, which I have mentioned you other protein free diet which can be say we can make in the laboratory and that are fed to either humans or animals for 7 to 10 days. Total carcass nitrogen is often measured in animal studies. Carcass means we fed the animals these protein or protein free diet for 7 to 10 days, then the animals will be sacrificed, killed, and the whole animal will be put in the acid. So, the total carcass nitrogen will be determined. So that you will have a sort of a proper understanding and accuracy in estimation of net protein utilization by estimating the nitrogen retention in the carcass nitrogen. So, NPU is equal to TCN on test protein minus TCN on protein free diet divided by nitrogen intake. Urinary and fecal collections are assessed for the net protein utilization. In this formula, if you look at nitrogen retained by nitrogen intake ultimately multiplied with 100, you get the net protein utilization. See, we know how much nitrogen we have fed to the animals, and we have also have the total carcass nitrogen that is retained, and we are multiplying with the factor 100, so that you get the net protein utilization. Here also in this formula, if you replace Ni is equal to nitrogen intake, U and F are urinary fecal nitrogen losses respectively. UE and Fe are endogenous urinary and fecal nitrogen losses during a nitrogen free diet which can be assessed. Considerations for protein sources, quality and turnover. Casein, whey and egg are all high quality proteins capable of supporting muscle growth. As I have mentioned earlier, milk contains two proteins, that is casein and whey, whereas egg protein is an albumin predominantly, and it has, because these are high quality proteins, they are capable of supporting the muscle growth. Whey protein supplementation appear to be particularly good at stimulating muscle protein synthesis. See, look at this, there are differences between casein and whey, both are proteins only, but a particularly whey protein supplementation have shown a good stimulating muscle protein synthesis. Leucine content is highest in addition to speed of digestion, particularly in this protein. Casein may reduce muscle protein breakdown, slow digesting, high quality source, ideal before bedtime. See, these are all the qualities, particularly between casein and whey, when people have looked at the quality of the proteins. Soybean is also high quality according to the standard definition, but may be less ideal due to lower leucine content. See, when you talk about protein, the balancing, particularly the amino acids, should be ideally in a proper combination. Though soybean is very high quality protein, but if you compare with a casein or whey protein, it has leucine content is lower. Combination of protein sources are ideal to get wide range of effects. See, it is very important that Indians we eat for our protein sources not just from the pulses. For example, if you take the South Indians, we take the protein source from the pulse, that is from the tur dal or any dal for that matter, the legumes which we eat. And with the rice, when we are combining rice with dal, or the North Indians wheat with dal, we are getting a good quality protein, that way because we are combining two different sources of protein, so that the quality of the protein may go up. So, in summary, nitrogen balances used to determine protein requirements to prevent deficiency in humans as per the recommended dietary allowances, but this does not account for different amino acid compositions among protein sources, potentially flawed due to measurement errors, the nitrogen balance studies. Whereas protein efficiency ratio, biological value and net protein utilization are not as robust in determining true protein quality, more often used in agriculture areas. The other method, PDCOS, is the gold standard for protein quality, accounts for the digestibility as well as the amount of essential amino acids. So, therefore, protein is an important source for human health. Quantity is very important, as I have mentioned, that which an average Indian, a 60 kilogram man requires around 60 grams of protein every day, but not just mere the quantity of the protein, the quality of the protein is also very important. Otherwise, we are taking the quantity, but not the quality. So, therefore, how to assess those protein qualities which we have discussed about, the protein efficiency ratio or biological value or net protein utilization, or by using the nitrogen balance studies, we can assess the proteins of different sources, either from an animal protein or from the plant sources, which we can evaluate the protein quality by using these experimental conditions, either using a laboratory animals or using the human models. In conclusion, this module has clearly explained about the protein quality assessment methods. See, as I have discussed about, it is not just the quantity of the protein, it is the quality of the protein ultimately matters. But how to assess the quality of the protein? People uses by biological value, by using the rat assays, animal models as well as human models, but it is very difficult and cumbersome, ethical considerations. Many of the experimental animals have been utilized for assessing the protein quality, like the biological value or the protein efficiency ratio or net protein utilization, by using the animal models. But while we are using the animal models, we should also consider like human ethical committees. Now, animal ethical committees are also in place. So, we have to give a minimal pain to the animals, and we should conduct with the minimum sample only to get the accurate results from these various methods. So, the protein quality is an important factor, and various methods are available, and we have to choose the right kind of method, but ultimately by looking at either of biological value or net protein utilization or protein efficiency ratio, ultimately now presently worldwide people are using the PDCOS as a gold standard method. Thank you.